Yesterday, the street poll asked if nuclear plants are safe in the U.S. 2 out of 3 said yes. Monday, we asked if you favor more nuclear plants. 7 out of 10 said yes. So, should more of our energy policy be based on nuclear? Jay Lehr is science director of the Heartland Institute, a free market nonprofit organization. He is pro-nuke. Michael Marriott is executive director of the Nuclear Information and Resource Service. He is anti-nuke. Michael, now let's start with Jay. Make the pro-nuke case, Jay, in light of all of the problems we're seeing in Japan.
I can do that easily. There are 444 commercially operating nuclear plants in the world that have been running for 30 to 40 years. There's never been a single loss of life. 200 nuclear ships operating in the seas, never a loss of life. There are 200 people that die annually around the world in coal-fired and natural gas-fired power plants. Nuclear is actually the safest form of energy. I'm hopeful, as desperate and terrible as the situation is in Fukushima, that there'll be no loss of life there. The low-level radiation that's being emitted from some of the fractures in the containment buildings will not cause a significant impact to human health. It disperses. This is not a nuclear bomb. Nuclear power plants are safe. We have 104, the most in the world. We've never had a problem. We've had some contamination problems. We've cleaned up. We've never had health or any life-threatening. So nuclear energy is great. On the other hand, we haven't built one in 30 years, and we're the king of coal and natural gas, and we could go on forever with conventional power plants.
Michael?
I think the people of Ukraine and Belarus and Russia would be surprised to learn there's never been a loss of life from a nuclear accident. In fact, the United Nations World Health Organization puts the loss from Chernobyl in the thousands, and independent estimates put the loss from Chernobyl much higher than that. The fact is that we have safer, cleaner, and cheaper means of producing our electricity. There have been numerous studies over the past 2 years that show different paths, but all somewhat similar to how we can achieve a nuclear-free, carbon-free energy future by mid-century. That's the approach we ought to be taking now. We ought to be putting our resources behind solar, behind wind. Unlike the past nuclear disasters when renewables weren't ready for prime time, the fact is that the renewables are ready to provide a major portion of our power needs.
Jay, how do you respond to that broad issue, which is that what does nuclear have? I mean, so you're going to call it clean, and I know some people will say, well, setting the whole plant up, et cetera, has a lot of fossil fuels involved. But say you assume nuclear is completely clean. What advantage does it have over wind or solar?
Wind and solar have no value of improving our electrical grid because they need 100% rolling backup energy. When the wind doesn't blow or the sun doesn't shine, you have to have a coal-fired or a gas-fired power plant ready to go online. So they save us nothing at all. Everything Michael said is absolutely ridiculous. We cannot go on nuclear energy. We can do without nuclear and go on fossil fuel plants, as I said. As far as the Chernobyl accident, that was not a commercial plant built by a sane country. No one in the world would build a plant without containment or have untrained workers. That was a major disaster, but even the numbers Michael gave are absolutely wrong. The UN report indicates that in the end, 50 people lost their lives in the explosion, in the fire, from radiation. 1,000 people in Chernobyl did get leukemia, 998 were cured, and there were not thousands of people getting cancer or losing their lives. Those numbers are absolutely ridiculous. I think nuclear is a great source of energy, but we haven't built a plant in 30 years, and we can go on with coal and natural gas for probably a couple centuries.
All right, what's your response to that, Michael? I mean, obviously, Jay, to your point about needing backup power, I mean, what they have it now is that you would, when you have excess, say wind or solar, you would then store it and have it for when you have a period where you don't have it.
We can't store wind or solar. We cannot store wind and solar. You have to have backup power to go online when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine, and the costs are astronomical.
Well, you can store the electricity in batteries.
No, you can't.
And in fact, if I can jump in here, nuclear power plants also require backup power because they don't operate 12 months a year, 365 days a year. They have to be shut. Excuse me. They have to be shut down for refueling. And as we're seeing in Japan now, Japan just lost 6 nuclear reactors. Those reactors aren't coming back. So the fact is that all sources of power need backup power when they're not in use. but a 1,500 megawatt nuclear plant needs 1,500 megawatts of power, whereas smaller, more dispersed wind farms and solar farms don't need quite as much per plant. And
Jay,
I tell you,
every word Michael is saying is absolutely incorrect.
Right.
Our nuclear power plants operate 95% efficiency. Wind, the best windmill is operated on about 30% efficiency, and solar about 15%.
Jay, it seems to me the crux of the matter for a lot of people is you quote the safety statistics, and they are fact-based. You can't argue about them. They are what they are. They're very good. The problem is the black swan problem. You know, even if the risk is extremely low, that one incident can be catastrophic.
But that's very good, but the black swan problem is going to be proved out in Fukushima. I think we will have no loss of life. I think we'll have no negative impact.
I think we already have loss of life in Fukushima.
Not from the power plant.
Yeah, from the explosions at the power plants. There are several people dead and missing.
That's news to me.
Yeah, well, guess what? We're in the news business.
Okay. Well, this will be the first lives lost, but this is a Richter scale 9 earthquake, a tsunami that is unimaginable. You're right, though. The black swan problem could set the nuclear industry back 10 years. That's entirely likely. But you have to look at the whole picture of nuclear energy, and it's the safest form of energy we've ever had.
That may be. I'm not arguing that at all. But I know a lot of people point to the black swan. And, you look at what's going on in Japan right now, and there were a number of mistakes made, it appears, in particular the placement of diesel backup generators in a low-lying area so they can be taken out. Nonetheless, in one of the reactors, as they were working, the relief valves failed. You know, you just get a cascade of problems, and now I'm told we have to go. All right. Anyway, thank you both, gentlemen. I think you had stated well both your positions, Jay Lehr and Michael Marriott.
You know what I want to